The kitchen in the now abandoned farmhouse of John Wright, a gloomy kitchen, and left without having been put in order. Unwashed pans under the sink, a loaf of bread outside the bread box, a dish towel on the table, other signs of incompleted work. At the rear, the outer door opens and the sheriff comes in, followed by the county attorney and Hale. The sheriff and Hale are men in middle life. The county attorney is a young woman. All are much bundled up and go at once to the stove. They are followed by two women, the sheriff's wife first. She is a slight, wiry woman, a thin, nervous face. Mrs. Hale is larger and would ordinarily be called more comfortable looking, but she is disturbed now and looks fearfully about as she enters. The women have come in slowly and stand close together near the door.
This feels good. Come to the fire, ladies.
I'm not cold.
Now, Mr. Hale, before we move things about, you explain to Mr. Henderson just what you saw when you came here yesterday morning.
By the way, has anything been moved? Are things just as you left them yesterday?
It's just the same. When it dropped below zero last night, I thought I better sing Frank out this morning to make a fire for us. No use getting pneumonia with the big case on. But I told him not to touch anything except the stove. And you know, Frank.
Somebody should have gone up there yesterday.
Oh, yesterday, when I had to send Frank to Morris Center for that man who went crazy. I want you to know I had my hands full yesterday. I knew you could get back from Omaha by today, and as long as I went over everything here myself.
Well, Mr. Hale, tell just what happened when you came here yesterday morning.
Harry and I had started to town with a load of potatoes. We came along the road from my place, and as I got here, I said, I'm going to see if I can't get John Wright to go in with me on a party telephone. I spoke to Wright about it once before, and he put me off, saying folks talk way too much anyway, and all he asked was peace and quiet. I guess you know about how much he talked to himself, but I thought maybe if I went to the house and talked about it before his wife, though I said to Harry that I didn't know as what his wife wanted made much difference to John.
Let's talk about that later, Mr. Hale. I do want to talk about that. But tell now just what happened when you got to the house.
I didn't hear or see anything. I knocked at the door, and still it was all quiet inside. I knew they must be up. It was past 8 o'clock. So I knocked again, and I thought I heard somebody say, "Come in." I wasn't sure. I'm not sure yet, but I opened the door, this door. And there in that rocker sat Mrs. Wright.
What was she doing?
She was rocking back and forth. She had her apron in her hand and was kind of pleating it.
And how did she look?
Well, she looked queer.
How do you mean queer?
Well, as if she didn't know what she was going to do next, and kind of done up.
How did she seem to feel about your coming?
Well, I don't think she minded, one way or other. She didn't pay much attention. I said, "How do, Mrs. Wright? It's cold, ain't it?" She said, "Is it?" And went on kind of pleating at her apron. Well, I was surprised she didn't ask me to come up to the stove or to sit down, but just sat there, not even looking at me. So I said, "I want to see John." And then she laughed. I guess you would call it a laugh. I thought of Harry and the team outside, so I said a little sharp, "Can't I see John?" "No," she says, kind of dull-like. "Ain't he home?" says I. "Yes," she said, "he's home." "Then why can't I see him?" I asked her, out of patience. "'Cause he's dead," she says. "Dead?" says I. She just nodded her head, not getting a bit excited, but rocking back and forth. "Why, where is he?" says I, not knowing what to say. She just pointed upstairs, like that. Himself. I got up at the idea of going up there. I walked from there to here. Then I says, "Why, what did he die of?" "He died of a rope around his neck," says she, and just went on pleating her apron. Well, I went out and called Harry. I thought I might need help. He went upstairs, and there he was lying.
I think I'd rather have you go into that upstairs, where you can point it all out. Just go on now with the rest of the story.
Well, my first thought was to get that rope off. It looked But Harry went up to him and he said, "No, he's dead all right, and we better not touch anything." So we went back downstairs. She was still sitting that same way. "Has anybody been notified?" I asked. "No," says she, unconcerned. "Who did this, Mrs. Wright?" said Harry. He said it businesslike, and she stopped pleating of her apron. "I don't know," she says. "You don't know," says Harry. "No," says she. "Weren't you sleeping in the bed with him?" "Yes," says she, "but I was on the inside. Somebody slipped a rope around his neck and strangled him, and you didn't wake up," says Harry. "I didn't wake up," she said after him. "He must have looked as if we didn't see how that could be, for after a minute she said, 'I sleep sound.'" Harry was going to ask her more questions, but I said maybe we ought to let her tell her story first to the coroner or the sheriff. So Harry went fast as he could to Rivers' place, where there's a telephone.
What did Mrs. Wright do when she knew that you had gone to the corner?
She moved from that chair to this one over here, and just sat there with her hands held together and looking down. I got a feeling that I ought to make some conversation, so I said I had come in to see if John wanted to put in a telephone. And at that she started to laugh, and then she stopped and looked at me, scared. I don't know, maybe it wasn't scared. I wouldn't like to say it was. Soon Harry got back, and then Dr. Lloyd came, and you, Mr. Peters. And so I guess that's all I know that you don't.
I guess we'll have to go upstairs first, and then out to the bar out there. You're convinced that there was nothing important here? Nothing that will point out any motive?
Nothing here but kitchen things.
Here's a nice mess.
Oh, her fruit. It did freeze. She worried about them when it turned so cold. She said the fire'd go out and her drawers would break.
Well, can you beat the woman? Hell for murder and worry about her preservatives.
I guess before we're through, she may have something more serious than preserves to worry about.
Well, women are used to worrying over trifles.
And yet, for all their worries, what would we do without the ladies? Dirty towels? Not much of a housekeeper, would you say, ladies?
There's a great deal of work to be done on a farm.
To be sure, and yet, I know there are some Dixon County farmhouses which do not have such roller towels.
Those towels get dirty awful quick. Men's hands aren't always as clean as they might be.
Ah, loyal to your sex, I see. But you and Mrs. Wright were neighbors, I suppose you were friends too.
I've not seen much of her of late years. I've not been in this house. It's more than a year.
And why was that? You didn't like her?
I liked her all well enough. Farmers' wives have their hands full, Mr. Henderson. And then
Yes.
it never seemed a very cheerful place.
No, it's cheerful. No, it's not cheerful. I shouldn't say she had the home-making instinct.
Well, I don't know as Wright had either.
You mean that they didn't go on very well?
No, I don't mean anything, but I don't think a place would be any cheerful for John Wright's being in it.
I'd like to talk about that. I'd like to talk more of that a little later. I want to get the lay of the things upstairs now.
I suppose anything, Miss Peters. They'll be all right. She wasn't taking some clothes for her, you know, and a few little things. We left in such a hurry yesterday.
Yes, but I'd like to see what you take, Mrs. Peters, and keep an eye on anything that might be of use to us.
Yes, Mr. Henderson.
I'd hate to have men coming into my kitchen, snooping around and criticizing.
Of course, that's no more than her duty.
Duty's all right, but I guess that deputy sheriff that came out to make the fire might have got a little of this on. Wish I'd thought of that sooner. It seems mean to talk about her for not having things slicked up when she had to come away in such a hurry.
She had her breath set.
She was going to put this in there,
It's a shame about our fruit. I wonder if it's all gone. I think there's some here. That's all right, Miss Peters. Yes, here. This is Sherry's too. I declare I believe that's the only one. She'll feel awful bad after all her hard work in the hot weather. I remember the afternoon I put up my cherries last summer.
Well, I must get those things from the front room closet. You coming with me, Miss Howe? You can help me carry them. My, it's cold in here.
Right was close. I think maybe that's why she kept so much to herself. She didn't even belong to the ladies' aid. I suppose she felt she couldn't do her part, and then you don't enjoy things when you feel shabby. She used to wear pretty clothes and be lively, and she was Minnie Foster, one of the town girls singing in the choir. But that was 30 years ago. This all was to take in.
She said she wanted an apron. Funny thing to want, for there isn't much to get you dirty in jail. Goodness knows, but I suppose just to make her feel more natural. She did say they were in the top drawer in this cupboard. Yes, here. And then her little shawl that was hung behind the door. Yes, here it is.
Miss Peters,
Yes, Miss Howe.
do you think she did it?
I don't know.
Well, I don't think she did. Asking for an apron and her little shawl, worrying about her fruit.
Mr. Peters says it looks bad for her. Mr. Henderson is awful sarcastic in his speech and will make fun of her for saying she didn't wake up.
Well, I guess John Wright didn't wake when they was slipping that rope around under his neck.
No, it's strange. It must have been done awfully crafty. They say it was such a funny way to kill a man, ringing him up like that.
That's just what Mr. Hale said. That was a gun. There was a gun in the house. He says that's why he can't understand.
Mr. Henderson said coming out that she was needed for the case was a motive, something to show anger or sudden feeling.
Well, I don't see any signs of anger around here. It's white to here. Wonder how they are finding things upstairs. I hope she had a little more red up there. You know, it seems kind of sneaking, walking her up in town and then coming out here and trying to get her own house to turn against her.
But Miss Howe, the law's the law.
I suppose his. Better loosen up your things, Miss Peters. You won't feel them when you go out.
She was piecing a quilt.
It's a log cabin pattern. Pretty, isn't it? I wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
Wonder if she...
They wonder if she was going to quit it or just not it.
Frank's fire didn't do much, that it didn't. Well, let's go out to the barn and get that cleared up.
I don't know if there's anything so strange or taking up our time with little things while we're waiting for them to get the evidence. I don't see as it's anything to laugh about.
Of course, they've got awfully important things on their minds.
Miss Peters, look at this one. Here, this is the one she was working on, and look at that sewing. All the rest of it has been so nice and even, and look at this. It's all over the place. Why, it looks as if she didn't know what she was about.
Oh, what are you doing, Miss Howe?
Just pulling out a stitch or two that's not sewed very good. Bad sewing always makes me fidgety.
I don't think we ought to touch things.
I'll just finish up this end. Miss Peters,
Yes, Miss Howe.
what do you suppose she was so nervous about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if she was nervous. I sometimes sew awful queer when I'm just tired. Well, I must get these things wrapped up. They may be through sooner than we think. I wonder where I can find a piece of paper and string.
In that cupboard, maybe.
Why, here's a bird cage. Did she have a bird, Miss Howe?
Why, I don't know whether she did or not. I've not been here for so long. There was a man around last year selling canaries cheap, but I don't know as she took one. Maybe she did. She used to sing real pretty herself.
Seems funny to think of a bird here, but she must have had one, or why would she have a cage? I wonder what happened to it.
I suppose maybe the cat got it.
No, she didn't have a cat. She got that feeling that some people have about cats, being afraid of them. My cat got in her room and she was real upset and asked me to take it out.
My sister Bessie was like that. Queer, ain't it?
Why, look at this door, it's broke. One hinge is pulled apart.
Looks as if someone must have been rough with it.
Well, yes.
I wish if they're going to find any evidence, they'd be about it. I don't like this place.
But I'm awful glad you came with me, Miss Howe. It would be lonesome for me sitting here alone.
It would, wouldn't it? But I tell you what I do wish, Miss Peters. I wish I'd come over sometimes when she was here. I wish I had.
But of course you were awful busy, Miss Howe. Your house and your children.
I could have came. I stayed away because it wasn't cheerful, and that's why I ought to have come. I've never liked this place. Maybe because it's down in a hollow and you don't see the road. I don't know what it is about its lonesome place, and always was. I wish I had come over to see Minnie Foster sometimes. I can see now.
Well, you mustn't reproach yourself, Miss Howe. Sometimes we just don't see how it is with other folks until something comes up.
Not having children makes less work, but it makes a quiet house, and right out to work all day, and no company when he did come in. Did you know John Wright, Miss Peters?
Not to know him, but I've seen him in town. They say he's a good man.
Yes, good. He didn't drink and kept his word as well as most, I guess, and paid his debts. But he was a hard man, Miss Peters. Just to pass the time of day with him. Like a raw wind that gets to the bone. I should think she would have wanted a bird, but what do you suppose went with it?
I don't know unless it got sick and died.
You weren't raised around here, were you? You didn't know her.
Not till they brought her yesterday.
She, come to think of it, she was kind of like a bird herself, real sweet and pretty, but kind of timid and fluttery. How she did change. Tell you what, Miss Peters, why don't you take the quilt in with you? It might take up your mind, take up her mind.
Well, I think that's a real nice idea, Miss Howe. There couldn't possibly be any objection to it, could there? Now, just what would I take? I wonder if her patches are in here and in her things.
Here's some red. I expect this has got sewing things in it. What a pretty box. Looks like something somebody would give you. Maybe her scissors are in here. There's something wrapped up in this piece of silk.
Why, this isn't her scissors.
Oh, Miss Peters, it's...
It's the bird.
Miss Peters, look at it. Its neck. Look at its neck. It's all other side too.
Somebody wrung its neck.
Well, ladies, have you decided whether she was going to quilt it or not?
We think she was going to knot it.
Well, that's interesting, I'm sure. Has the bird flown?
We think the cat got it.
Is there a cat?
Well, not now. They're so superstitious, you know, they leave.
No sign at all of anyone having come from the outside, their own rope. Now let's go up again and go over the piece by piece. I would have to have been someone who knew just the...
She liked the bird. She was going to bury it in that pretty box.
When I was a girl, my kitten, there was a boy who took a hatchet, and before my eyes, I could get there. If they hadn't held me back, they wouldn't have hurt him.
I wonder how it would seem never to have had any children around. No, Wright wouldn't like the bird, the thing that's saying she used to see. He killed that too.
We don't know who killed the bird.
I knew John Wright.
It was an awful thing was done in his house that night. Miss Howe killing the man while he slept, slipping a rope around his neck that choked the life out of him.
His neck choked the life out of him.
We don't know who killed him. We don't know of anything.
If there had been years and years of nothing, then a bird to sing to you, it would be awful, still, after the bird was still.
I know that what stillness is. When we homestead in Dakota, my first baby died after he was 2 years old, and me with no other than.
How soon do you suppose they'll be through looking for the evidence?
I know what stillness is. The law has got to punish crime as hell.
I wish you'd seen Minnie Foster when she wore a white dress with blue ribbons and stood up there in the choir and sing. Oh, I wish I'd come over here once in a while. That was a crime. That was a crime. Who's going to punish that?
We mustn't take it on.
I might have known she needed help. I know how things can be for women. I tell you, it's clear, Miss Peters. We live close together and we live far apart. We all go through the same things. It's all just a different kind of the same thing. If I was you, I would have tell her her fruit was gone. Tell her it ain't. Tell her it's all right. Take this and to prove it to her. She may never know whether it was broke or not.
Why, it's a good thing the men couldn't hear us. Wouldn't they just laugh, getting all stirred up over a thing like a dead canary, as if that could have anything to do with, wouldn't they laugh?
Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't.
No, Peters, it's all perfectly clear, except the reason for doing it. But you know juries when it comes to women. If there was some definite thing, something to show, something to make a story about, a thing that would connect up with this strange way of doing it.
Well, I've got the team around. Pretty cold out there.
I'm gonna stay here a while by myself. You can send Frank out for me, can't you? I wanna go over everything. I'm not satisfied that we can't do better.
Do you want to see what Miss Peters is going to take in?
I guess they're not very dangerous things. The ladies have picked up. No, Mrs. Peters doesn't need supervising. For that matter, the sheriff's wife is married to the law. Ever think of it that way, Mrs. Peters?
Not just that way.
Yeah, married to the law. I just want you to come in here a minute. George, we have to take a look at these windows.
Oh, windows.
We'll be right out, Mr. Hale.
Well, Henry, at least you found out that she was not going to puts it. She was going to, what did you call it, ladies?
We call it not it, Mr. Henderson.